Welcome to my channel. Try to hear the latest story.
When my fiancée told me her parents didn't think I was good enough for her, suggesting she could find someone better, I responded calmly, "Then you should." That same night, I quietly transferred our apartment lease to her name, deactivated her access to my credit card, and left while she was asleep. A week later, her entire family showed up at my new place, pleading for me to reconsider. It's strange how heartbreak can feel so serene. No yelling, no tears, just a cold, clear focus that takes hold. I'd been with Emily for 3 years, meeting her just after college at a mutual friend's housewarming. She was intelligent, stunning, driven, everything I'd ever wanted. We moved in together after a year, got engaged after 2, and were deep into wedding plans when it all unraveled. In hindsight, the red flags were there. Emily's parents, Charles and Margaret, were never particularly welcoming. They were the elite type, old wealth, private academies, summer homes on Cape Cod. I came from a modest family in Michigan, worked my way through a state university with loans and side gigs, and was carving out a career as an architect at a solid but unremarkable firm. At dinners, they'd probe about my professional ambitions, asking if my firm handled any high-profile projects. Margaret would bring up Emily's ex, now thriving at a private equity firm in Manhattan. Charles would mention acquaintances' sons who were surgeons or corporate leaders. I shrugged it off. In-laws can be tough, right? Emily would nudge my leg under the table, smirking when her parents weren't watching. I thought we were solid. The day it all collapsed was unremarkable. A Wednesday in May. I came home exhausted from a marathon client presentation. Emily was at our kitchen counter, glued to her tablet. "Hey," I said, tossing my keys into the dish by the door. "How's your day going?" She didn't respond immediately, which wasn't like her. Emily was always chatting about her job, friends, or something she'd seen online. The silence was my first hint something was off. "I had lunch with my parents," she said finally, eyes still on her screen. "How are Charles and Margaret?" I asked, keeping my tone casual as I grabbed a soda from the fridge. "They're worried about us." I froze, half-tilted. "Worried how?" "About the wedding. About whether you're the right fit for me." I set the soda down, untouched. "And what do you think?" "They just want what's best for me." "That's not what I asked." She sighed, shutting her tablet. "They brought up some things I hadn't considered, like how your job doesn't have the same upward mobility as, say, finance or law. How we'll never live the kind of life I was raised in. How our backgrounds are so different." "We've known that since day one," I said, my voice steady despite the tightening in my chest. "It never seemed to bother you before." "It didn't, but thinking long-term, kids, the future, I don't know." They made some valid points, like how you're fine with where you are. You never talk about aiming for partner or launching your own firm. You're just okay with being average. That stung. I'd never pretended to be a superstar, but I worked hard, took pride in my designs. I wasn't revolutionizing the world, but I was building a respectable career doing what I loved. "What are you saying, Emily?" She fidgeted with her engagement ring, the one I'd saved 6 months for, the one her mother called charming with a faint sneer. "My parents don't think you're right for me," she said at last. "They think I can do better." The room seemed to shift, like a building settling after a tremor. 3 years, a year of engagement, countless promises and plans, reduced to her parents' judgment. "And what do you think?" I asked again, voice barely above a whisper. She wouldn't look at me. "I think they might be onto something. In a movie, this is where I'd beg, remind her of our love, vow to prove myself worthy." But that cold clarity hit me like a wave. "Then you should," I said simply. "Should what?" "Find someone better, if that's what you and your parents believe." She looked stunned, like she'd expected me to fight or cry. "Ryan, I'm not saying it's over. I'm just unsure. Unsure if I'm good enough because your parents said so." "It's more complicated than that." "Is it?" "Seems pretty straightforward to me." I walked past her to our bedroom, her bewildered expression trailing me. I took a shower, the hot water clearing my head as I mapped out my next steps. By the time I was done, I had a plan. Emily was in bed when I emerged, scrolling her phone like it was any other night. "Can we talk about this tomorrow?" she asked, glancing up. "I'm exhausted, and we need to sleep on it." "Sure," I said, climbing into bed. "Tomorrow." I waited until her breathing evened out around 1 a.m. Then I slipped out of bed, grabbed my pre-packed duffel from the closet, and got to work. I logged into our apartment's tenant portal. The lease was in my name, with Emily listed as a co-occupant since my credit score was stronger when we signed. I submitted a request to transfer the lease solely to her, noting she'd need to sign and the landlord would need to approve. Our landlord, Mr. Thompson, was fair and liked me. I was sure he'd help Emily navigate the change if she stayed. Next, I accessed my bank account. Emily was an authorized user on my credit card for shared expenses, though we kept our finances mostly separate. I removed her access and ordered a new card for myself. I made a list of utilities and subscriptions in my name, power, Wi-Fi, streaming services, to either transfer or cancel after giving her notice. I wrote a concise note explaining I was leaving, had started the lease transfer, and would collect my remaining belongings later. I noted she had a month to decide on the apartment and that I'd cover utilities until she could take them over. I left the note and my key on the counter and walked out. I texted my friend Jake earlier, while Emily was in the bathroom, asking to crash at his place. He agreed without hesitation. A true friend. When I arrived at his apartment at 2 a.m., he opened the door half asleep but concerned. "You good, man?" "Not really," I admitted. "But I will be." Over drinks on his couch, I explained everything. Jake didn't push me to reconcile or go back. "Her loss," he said, tapping his glass against mine. "Stay as long as you need." The next morning, my phone was flooded with notifications. Calls, texts, voicemails from Emily, each more desperate than the last. "Where are you? Call me. You just left?" The landlord mentioned a lease transfer. "I can't afford this place alone." "You canceled the card? How am I supposed to buy groceries?" That last one was ironic. Despite her family's wealth, Emily prided herself on being self-sufficient, living off her entry-level marketing job while her parents paid her student loans, car, and maintained a hefty emergency fund she rarely used. Now that pride left her scrambling. I didn't reply. Instead, I called my boss, requested a few personal days, and started apartment hunting. Within a week, I secured a modest one-bedroom across town, manageable with my recent project bonuses. Emily's messages kept coming, shifting from anger to begging. "Please talk to me. We can fix this." I didn't mean it. I was just overwhelmed with wedding stress. My parents were wrong. On day 5, I sent one reply, "I'll pick up my things next week. Utilities are covered until the month's end. Let me know when you won't be home so I can move out." Her response was instant. "Please don't. I love you." Too late. On day 6, Charles, Emily's father, called. I almost ignored it but answered out of curiosity. "Ryan," he said, his usual arrogance softened. "We need to talk." "I don't think so, Charles. Please. Emily's a mess." "That's not my concern anymore." "Look," he exhaled. "I may have said things I shouldn't have." "You don't say." He asked to meet. Against my instincts, I agreed to coffee the next day, driven by curiosity. At the cafe, I was stunned to see not just Charles and Margaret but Emily and her younger brother, too. A full family ambush. "What's this?" I asked, standing by their table. "Please sit," Margaret said, her usually flawless composure frayed. "We need to talk." I sat, keeping my distance from Emily. Her eyes were puffy, her usual polished look unkempt. Charles spoke first. "Ryan, I owe you an apology. What I said about you was unfair." "You think?" "Yes," he pressed on. "This week has shown us you're far better for Emily than we realized." "How so?" Margaret chimed in. "Emily's devastated. She's not eating, not sleeping. She loves you." I glanced at Emily, tears silently streaming down her face. "And," Charles added, looking uneasy, "Emily wasn't fully honest about your career. Her brother looked you up." "I'm kind of an architecture geek," her brother cut in. "I Googled you. You worked on the Hamilton Plaza? That's huge. And you're lead designer on the new riverfront project? Man, that's impressive." I shrugged. "I've been doing well." "Why didn't you tell us?" Margaret asked. "Because it shouldn't matter," I said. "I'm an architect because I love it, not to win over my fiancé's parents." Charles looked chastened. "We misjudged you and shouldn't have planted doubts in Emily's mind." "You didn't plant anything she didn't let take root," I said. "She's a grown woman who made her choice." "I made the wrong choice," Emily said, voice raw. "I was stupid, insecure, and let them sway me. I've regretted it every moment since you left." "We're here," Charles said. To ask you to give her another chance. I looked at this family, who deemed me inadequate and were now backtracking. Why the sudden change, Charles? Because I might actually be successful? No, he said, though his eyes flicked away. Because I've never seen my daughter this broken. Whatever you think of me, I love her. The reality was, I'd never bragged about my career to Emily or her parents. Not out of secrecy, but because I didn't measure my worth by accolades. The Riverfront project was a major win, one I'd poured late nights into, but Emily was more focused on her marketing world, and I was happy to listen rather than boast. Please, Ryan. Emily reached for my hand. I pulled back. I was wrong. I love you, not what you do or earn. But you didn't stand up for me, I said softly. When they said I wasn't enough, you agreed. I was scared, stressed about the wedding, doubting myself. It wasn't about you. And you only reached out when you realized I'd transferred the lease and cut off the card. That just showed me how much I rely on you, she said. How much I need you. I don't want to be needed. I want to be chosen. I stood. You chose your parents' opinion over me. Ryan, Margaret interjected. People make mistakes. Emily messed up. We messed up. Doesn't that deserve a second chance? I looked at them, this family scrambling to fix their mess, and felt nothing. That cold clarity held firm. I wish you all well, I said, turning to go. Wait. Emily stood, drawing stares from other patrons. I'll do anything. I'll move into your new place. I'll pay my share. I'll cut off my parents if I have to. Her parents' alarmed expressions confirmed their sincerity was shaky. It's not about that, I told her. It's about you showing me who you really are. Someone who prioritizes status and others' opinions over loyalty and love. I believe you now. I walked away, ignoring her calls. That was 6 months ago. I haven't spoken to Emily since, though she still texts sometimes. Her parents sent a fancy whiskey bottle with an apology note, which I regifted for Jake's birthday. The Riverfront project I designed opened last month to great reviews. My firm promoted me to junior partner with a solid raise. I bought a small condo in the building I designed. Sometimes, I wonder if I was too harsh, too unwilling to forgive. But then I recall how easily she doubted me, how quickly she echoed her parents' verdict on my worth. Some wounds are too deep to mend. The right person won't need convincing you're enough. They'll know it and defend it, even against their own family. I'm still searching for that person, but now I know what I deserve and what I won't settle for.